Yes. Okay, Kshobha. Kshobha is a word that we have to understand really well. What is the meaning of Kshobha in our system? First of all, Kshobha means agitation, disturbance, and it is required for any creation to take place. So, actually, Kshobha defines that process of creation. And now, what does it mean? For example, we have this, the original state is that unitary consciousness. So there is that perfect symmetry, you can say, in that non-dual consciousness. Now, when this symmetry, you can say, is broken, and it is broken because of this agitation. This agitation is when consciousness becomes externally orientated, aunmukhya. It begins to face in the direction of objective existence. Then this symmetry is broken, and then sequentially things begin to unfold outside, externally. And it is a good example is that the painter who paints a beautiful picture. So before he starts painting, he already has all these paints and colors and canvas and brushes and all that he needs for painting. But that picture is still within him. It is inside. Now it has to come out somehow. That agitation is necessary to bring it out. So he takes a brush and applies one color, blue and yellow and green and all these things. And then slowly that begins to take shape, and then finally it is brought externally, from inside. And so this is, for example, for Sankhya, in Sankhya, for Prakriti to begin creation, this Kshobha is not necessary. But in our system, this Kshobha is the key, it is absolutely necessary. In chapter 9 of Tantraloka and Tantrasara, Abhinavagupta says, when Shabda Tanmatra is Kshubda, is agitated, then the Shabda is created. When Sparsha Tanmatra is agitated, is Kshubda, then the Sparsha is created, and so on and so on. So it is absolutely necessary. Now, there is in Sankhya Karika 1.9, there is a very famous shloka. So to explain this idea a little bit further. And the shloka reads, Nija Shuddha Samartasya Kartavyeshu Abhilashinaha Yadakshobha Praliyeta Tadasyat Paramam Padam. Nija Shuddha, this Yadakshobha Praliyeta. So now, in order for everything, as we have seen, the Anutarayam Sthita, so that everything returns back to that original state, that Kshobha needs to cease. And so it is the same idea is expressed here. Yada Kshobha Praliyeta. So when this Kshobha, with respect to Nija Shuddha Samartasya, Kartavyeshu Abhilashinaha, it describes a person who is Nija Shuddha Samartasya, Nija Ashuddha Asamartasya. Ashuddha means impure. In our system, the purity is understood in terms of the absence of the notion of duality. So when that notion of duality is absent, and when there is that contact with the Shuddha Vidya, with pure knowledge, then this Kshobha begins to diminish. And so this is the meaning of Ashuddha here. So it refers to that Anavamala. Anavamala is that inherent ignorance that abides in the individual knowing subject, and its expression is when that supreme consciousness began to contract, and that contraction takes the form of this kinchit kartatva, kinchit gyatatva. One can only know little, one can only do a little. There is attachment to these things, and then causality, and one is influenced by time. So when all these elements, all these kanchukas cover that supreme consciousness, then this is that expression of Anavamala. And so that Anavamala is expressed usually in texts with the apurna manyate. One considers oneself apurna, incomplete. And in order to fill up this emptiness, one engages into various activity, and that is described here. Kartavyeshu abhilashinaha. Kartavyeshu abhilashinaha. Now, this abhilasha is usually, often this word used to express the Anavamala. In the sense of Anavamala is used in the text, but here it means one who has this craving for kartavyeshu. One always engages in activity. One engages in activity in order to fill up that emptiness. And so one has a desire to accomplish this and then accomplish that. Once when he accomplishes this is not enough, he has to move to something else. And that perpetuates that state of bondage. And this is karma mala. So that is what he says here. Nija Shuddha Samadhi. So when this kshoba, when this orientation, when in the direction of orientation in the towards the phenomenal existence, the objects ceases, then this tadasyat paramampadam. Then that one may attain that the supreme state. Now, to explain a little bit further and to understand some more details. Now, why does this Anavamala, why does this bondage actually take place? So, for this we are going to read a few more shlokas from Tantraloka. Tantraloka 13, 103, 103 to 106. So, Devaha Swatantra Chidrupaha Prakasha Atma Svabhavataha Rupa Prachadana Krida Yogad Anu Aneka Kaha. So what happens is that this God, Deva, because Chidrupaha, he is of the nature of consciousness, and therefore he is absolutely free. And he is also Prakasha Atma, he is pure light. He is the pure light and also of the nature of consciousness, and therefore he possesses absolute freedom. And Svabhavataha, by his own nature, it is the what does he do by his own nature? He Rupa Prachadana Krida Yogat, he begins to hide his own essential nature. Rupa Prachadana Krida, he begins to hide his own nature as a result of his freedom. So now this creation is the creation that the contracted form of that consciousness is also the result of his svatantriya. And then, as a result of that, he assumes the forms of anus. Anekakaha, many different anus, many different limited knowing subjects, individual selves. Now, there's Saha Swayam Kalpita Akara Vikalpa Atmaka Karma Bhihi Bandnati Atmanam Eva Iha Swatantriyad Iti Varnitam. It says Iti Varnitam. It has been described before that this Lord, Saha, this Lord Shiva, Swayam Kalpita Akara, vikalpatmaka karmabhihi bandnati. He binds himself. He binds himself by himself, svayam. How? Karmabhihi, by actions, the activities. What kind of activities? And this is very interesting. Now Abhinavagupta explains what does he mean by activities. Kalpita akara vikalpam. Kalpita akara vikalpa atmaka. So these actions are of the nature of vikalpas, of the nature of dualist perception, thought constructs, which are kalpita akara, which are a result of mental activity, you can say. But the kalpita also has that sense of imagination, something that is a fiction, something that is not real. And then he does this svatantriyad by his own free will. It is his choice to do that. So now Jaratha gives some more clarification. Iha hisa saha eva svecha vashad parikalpita tattadakaraihi idam karyam idam akaryam iti eva vividha vikalpa matra paramarthaihi karmabhihi. So now he says that he said Iha, according to our system, Saha, this Lord Shiva, Eva, Lord Shiva himself, Svecha Vashad, by his own free will, Parikalpita, something that he conceives mentally, Tat Akaraihi, Idam Karyam. So he conceived Idam Karyam, Idam Akaryam. I'm going to do this and I'm not going to do that. So this will be created and this will not be created. So this kind of vikalpas develop here. Now, and then there is a quote from Ishvara Pratibhya here, Tatrapi karmam eva ekam mukyam samsara karanam. Now he says that, and this is a very important point, that the karma, that the karma mala is the main cause, as I have already explained, is the main cause of bondage. Karma mala is the main cause of bondage. That's what he says. Now, Jarat continues. He says, Na kevalam svatantriyad atmanam badnati eva yavat mochayati apitiyah. He said, it is not only that he binds himself by his own free will, but he also reveals himself also by his own free will. Svatantriya mahima eva ayam devasya yadasau punaha svam rupam parishuddham sat sparshati api anutamayaha. So what he says here is that this God, Deva, he, by the glory of his Svatantriya, by the power of his freedom, he does what? He, Swamrupam Parishuddham, this, although he is Anuta Mayaha, he is Anuta, he is that limited knowing subject, and he is completely under that control of this Anavamala, and his consciousness is totally contracted. But now what happens? It happens that Swamrupam Parishuddham Sparshati, then he touches, Sparshati, touches literally, his again Swamrupam Parishuddham, his own pure form. His own pure form means that Shuddha Vidya, where this notion of duality does not exist. So, and now, what is he actually saying here, Abhinavagupta, is that as long as we are, we don't have that contact with that supreme, with that Shuddha Vidya. We are always in ignorance. So the only way, and absolutely the only way, to go beyond this state of limitation is that contact with that supreme state, which is absolutely necessary. So therefore, the practice here, the study of the Shastras, the practice of various types is absolutely necessary to touch that Swamrupam Parishuddham. But the point here is also that Shiva does this all by himself. So Jayaratha clarifies, idam api hi nama asya swatantriya vijrambitam eva yad anurupo api san asau pratyavritya svayam parishuddham rupam sprashati. So here he says now what happens. Now he bound himself by his own will, now he frees himself. How? Although he said, although anurupo api, although he is anu, although he is a limited knowing subject, but by expanding vijrambitam swatantra, by expanding his own freedom, asya, his own, then he said, then pratyavartya, you can say that process now is being reversed. And Swam Parishuddham Rupam Sprashati, he touches his own pure nature. Gopitam api purna dikkriya svabhavam atmanam prakatayati iti atha. So he says that Gopitam api, although that nature is hidden, is concealed, now prakatayati, he manifests he manifests atmanam, himself. And then what is the nature of that again liberated state? Is the purna dikriya svabhavam. He possesses its essential nature is that purna, that fullness of drik and kriya, of the powers, the energies of knowledge and energies of action. Now, he's writing all of these things in the context of Shaktipat, in the context of descent of grace. So he is explaining here. This is just the beginning, how the whole thing proceeds. Now, the question here arises, and that will be answered in the following shloka, is, now, why does he then liberates himself, only manifests himself only in some knowing subjects, limited knowing subjects, and why not in others? So that can be a problem for some people. So the answer is Navachyam tu katham nama kasmi chit pumsi asau tadha nahi nama puman kaschit yasmin paryanu yujyate. He says, Navachyam, this should not be asked, this kind of question should not be asked. How? Kadham nama kasmichit pumsi asau. Why he just manifests in some pumsi, in some knowing subjects, but not in all. No such knowing subject exists, he says, in which this objection is justified. We cannot justify this objection. Now Jayaratha will explain why. Nahi asma darshane bhedavadivat tad atiriktaha kaschit puma nama sambhavet yatra ayam paryanu yoga hasyat sarvaneva mochayatu ma va kamchit iti. He said, in our darshana, in our philosophical system, unlike in the philosophy of Bhedavadins or dualists, there is no such puman, such a knowing subject, which is tadatiriktaha, which is in any way distinct from Lord Shiva. Yatra ayam, and so that this objection can be raised. Sarvaneva mochayatu, liberate all, Mava Kamchit, all nobody. Yavata hi deva, eva asau svatantriyad, Shuddha ashuddha atmataya prathate, yadasya tadashameva svam rupam. He says, it is because of his freedom that this Shuddha and Ashuddha Atmataya, so that this Lord manifests himself as as pure and impure form. And Prathate, he is manifesting. Tad asya tadasham swarupa. And therefore this is his nature. Now what he is saying here is that both of these aspects of God, that revealed and concealed, are both aspects of the same God, and they are both his nature. So there is a revealed form of God, and then there is a concealed, and as such he is of course concealed in all of us. So this is just his nature to be like that. And in the following shloka, Abhinavagupta clarifies this. Deva eva tadha asau chet swarupam cha asya tadrisham. So if the God is like that, he says, and if swamrupam cha asya tadrisham, and if his essential nature is like that, tadrak pradha svabhavasya svabhave ka anuyujyata, anuyojyata. And he says, if God is like that, and if his essential nature is like that, and if he manifests like that, then how can there be any objection raised here? Because this is his nature, and there cannot be, he says, any objection regarding anybody's essential nature. So now he goes on, and so he will explain that this Shaktipata is there is no really any cause for this Shaktipata. One cannot do anything, know anything, learn anything, do any kind of behave in a certain way that to cause this Shaktipata to happen. Shaktipata is that purely done by the will of Shiva. That is and then we will also learn a very important point, and that is that when God graces, and then he graces people with knowledge. That is, and that knowledge is the knowledge of Pratibha. And he goes on into now eulogy of Pratibha, which is really beautiful. And so now this, coming back to this shloka, here we have explained this, the process of creation and the process of dissolution. So I wanted to add also this, the reasons why does this creation take place, and why does this dissolution take place, and how does this tirobhava, hiding, happens, and then how does this, what are the causes of the Shaktipata. So here, this is it, and I hope that the Vikramji and Leah will be happy, although this is the video. I'm not really sure if they are accepting this kind of contributions in the form of it. Om Namah Shivaya.